My parents love Whitney. They're like, she is so awesome. She's easy to talk to. She's very sweet. She's super funny. I was like, geez, guys.
It's my birthday.
Yeah, this isn't about Whitney.
Every
She was
time.
like looking at shirts
Yep.
and mugs and stuff. She's like, oh, I think I'm going to buy this.
She
I was
wants
like,
that. She wants that.
Yeah.
With a booty, some da 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 pow, whatever she says, a badonkadonk down and a booty named Pow. Hopefully, this makes it into the podcast. It's a good story because I pissed me the
hey,
fuck
this
off.
is
Well, that all
Twin
depends
Stick
on you.
Radio, episode 73 for the week of June 20th, 2019. I'm one of your hosts, Trey Higgins, and I'm joined by Chris Rodriguez.
Hello.
And Everett Jordan.
Hi.
Justin T. Lopez is out today dealing with work stuff. So 3 weeks in a row, someone has been missing.
It's all right, and I'll be gone next week.
Oh, yeah, you will be gone next
we have a
week.
show. We have a show next
4
week.
weeks. This is a month
Yeah,
where
we
the
have
whole
a
cast
sh-
hasn't
we have
been
a show
together.
next week.
So we were talking about my what happened on the
Yeah,
day
so
where we had
last week
dinner
was
for my birthday.
last Wednesday was Trey's birthday, and you know, I think he asked me earlier in the week. He's like, "Can you make it to Chewy's?" It's like, "I don't think so. I've got 2 rehearsals and I can't really miss them." So Wednesday comes along. I see Whitney for maybe half a second, and she goes, "Okay, you know, just don't go to practice and come to Chewy's with us." It's like, I really would like to, but I can't. Right? I'm getting paid for this. This is my job. Right? I gotta go to these practices.
Well, to be fair, the practices are once a week.
Yeah, they're once a week, exactly. But yeah, you know, they're like a job. It's like, I guess you can just be like, "Hey, I'm not coming in today," right? But it's I don't know, it's different. Anyway,
Justin.
it's not different, huh? Yeah, Justin. So I go to the first rehearsal, and rehearsal's at 6:30. I get there about 6:15. Santos gets there about 6:15. Compton gets there about 6:20. And then our keyboard player rolls up about 6:30, but we can't get inside the building where rehearsal is. We're like, well, what's going on? Because then, granted, I have my amps, my guitars, my pedal board. I have everything, right? All waiting to go inside so we can rehearse. And our keyboard player comes up at 6:30 going, so the, you know, leader of this band is not going to be here today. And neither is our sound guy. It's like, well, why the fuck are we even practicing?
Like, I could be eating
It's
a
like,
chimichanga
yes,
right
it's
now.
like, why the fuck are we even practicing? I told her, when did you hear about this? And she goes, well, he texted me like 20 minutes ago saying he's not coming.
Oh,
I was
great.
like, God, oh man, I was fucking pissed. Because I even told Chris, Chris was like, hey, how's it going? I was like, I could be eating Chewy's. And he goes, oh, I get it. It's one of those days.
He puts his hand on your shoulder. I feel
Yeah,
you, man.
and so fucking we don't even rehearse. We can't get in the fucking building. And that was probably all the way from like 6:30 to 7:30 us trying to figure all that shit out. And that was an hour of my time wasted when I could have been celebrating Trey's birthday with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could have gone to the second practice, which was at 8:30, and gone eating with them and easily been back here for 8. Oh man, I was pissed that day. God, I was pissed.
Well,
Anyway, there's that.
Chris, what are you playing?
Fallout 76, man, there's a lot, dude. Like for real, because like so the big shared world stuff is they're consistently getting updated, right? So Fallout 76. Whitney and I are still playing that. We just started playing Borderlands, Borderlands 2. We're gonna go through that and then go through the pre-sequel.
Hey, if you want to play Borderlands with us,
I'm good.
Hey, we're past the we're right at the train where you take down the train with Tina.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, you mean the train when you start the game?
No, that's not the beginning of the game.
I know
A lot of
that very
trains in
well.
that game.
Yeah, that's not the beginning of the game. You're like Tina, and now this is the first time Whitney's ever played Borderlands, so she is quoting Tiny Tina.
She loves Tiny Tina.
She's been and she talks like Tina every once in
Yep.
a while. She's enjoying the shit out of Borderlands, which is awesome. Number one, it's cool.
Well, because you worried about that. You worried about whether or not she was going to
100%.
like it.
So now that's even me more excited for September because I know
Mm-hmm.
even if because we have opposite schedules, so the chances of Trey and I playing Borderlands together is probably like maybe one weekend out of the month. But now I definitely have somebody to play Borderlands 3 with, and that just makes me very happy.
Are y'all gonna go all the way through to the newest DLC?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
We're
cool.
going from beginning to end, and after we're done with Battle for Sanctuary, we'll go to pre-sequel and go through pre-sequel as well.
Okay.
So yeah, Fallout 76, Borderlands. I started playing Fallout 4 again. Because I love that fucking game. Just
I re-downloaded it
Yeah.
and with the same thought.
I just fucking love that game so much. Division 2, Destiny 2,
Which we'll talk about in a little bit.
and Red Dead still. Like there's all
Red
these
Dead?
Yeah,
Really?
well because they're always everything's being updated. So
Yeah.
every week Red Dead gets like a new type of game mode.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a really good one that they just put in like 2 weeks ago where it's a team is on a train and the other team has to get on horses and try to take the
that's
train.
cool.
And it's a shit ton of fun.
That's
man.
exactly the kind of shit that game
Yeah,
needs.
and it's a shit ton
'Cause
of fun. That's
even
a great game mode.
Even if it's competitive, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. The only issue is it's not something you can just queue into. You have to go into Showdown playlist, and it may be one of the things that you play.
They got to fix that shit.
I
But
agree.
I mean, it probably doesn't help that they only have like 4 or 5 different game modes for Showdown.
There's a lot. I feel like but
like
it's
an
like,
over exaggeration or under exaggeration, but
And then today we downloaded the new Harry Potter game on our mobile. The new Niantic Harry Potter game.
how's
And
that?
It's Pokemon Go, but Harry Potter.
So out of I mean, you play Pokemon Go because Whitney plays Pokemon
Sure,
Go.
yeah.
Do you think it'll be the same thing for the Harry Potter game, or
I think the Harry Potter game might have grabbed me a little bit more than Pokemon just because it's got a really cool progression system.
Oh, okay.
So like you level up like any Niantic game, level 1 to whatever, but underneath that there's a job system, and like I picked Auror. There's also a Magizoologist and a Professor, and each one of those jobs that you pick at level 6 makes you more efficient in some aspect of the game. So being an Auror, you're a lot better in what the equivalent for raid battles would be in Pokemon Go. Like the Magizoologist, you're a lot better at catching things in the world and stopping the threat of whatever's happening. And the Professor one, you're really good at the collections. You're great. You get bonuses when you're trying to collect shit.
Yeah.
And so I think the progression system is really cool. It's bare bones like Pokemon Go was when it first came out. So we'll see. I think it grabbed me a little bit better than Go did though.
Okay.
So anyway, we're playing a lot. What are you playing, Trey?
So I tried out Fallout 76 for the week that it was free, and honestly, like, it's not bad. I think that like it and it's bare bones. It's just sort of basic Fallout 4 gameplay, which Fallout 4's gameplay is great. I think the guns control almost as good as they do in Fallout 4.
Sure, yeah.
Not quite. Just the thing about it that I can't get past is how kind of I it just maybe this is just at the beginning, and maybe it's because I wasn't playing anyone. But man, like that first sort of grind to level 10, it's just like not grind, but that from 1 to 10, it's just like kind of dull. Like I don't feel like there's a lot going on in the world. That when you go and find a town. Because even like the map, I don't feel like the map marks out towns; it marks out buildings that are important. But when you go to a town, it's like, oh man, like I'm not going to run into an NPC. I might get a new quest here, but it's going to be listening to audio logs, and it none of that is bad stuff. But it's exactly the thing that we talked about, where it's like that's just not my kind of Fallout.
Sure, yeah,
that's not what I
100%.
get into Fallout for. So it's fine, and I'm excited for the NPC stuff. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get me to sort of grind to whatever point I need to do to start playing those missions. But I think that there is I was really excited with the way that they talked about Fallout 76 at E3. So if they continue to go on that route of like players really wanted NPCs, so we're going to add an NPC quest lines. And 2 years from now, there's a Brotherhood of Steel NPC quest line or an Enclave one. Like I think that would be a good point for me to jump in, but
Sure.
I don't know that this fall is going to still be giving me the kind of game that I want.
Yeah, I think the honestly the to me the best part about Fallout 76 is number one, playing Fallout with somebody else. I think if you had somebody to play with, it might have made the experience. Well, of course, it would have made.
And that's any game. You
Yeah,
can be
that
playing
is
the worst
any
game in
game.
the world, and if you're playing with
Yes.
someone, it's fun.
However, I think Fallout 76 really shines when you're playing with another person. I think the camp system is a lot better than 4
I
was.
agree with that.
Especially with like player vending. So the idea that you can make money off of other players through this weird like vending machine system is just fucking.
They sort of
it's
fixed,
genius.
They fixed the cap economy with that.
Sure,
because
yeah.
before like there wasn't a huge reason to spend caps.
Right. And I think this game's all about the collection. It's a collector mindset, right? If you're an explorer and a collector, this is the game for you, because once you hit that time where you finish all the storylines, there's no more main quests, there's no more side quests. You still don't have all the plans for your camp.
Yeah.
And you still don't have the most powerful power armor you can find. And there's a ton of other things you can do. And the events that happen throughout the map are just a shit ton of fun.
Yeah.
And they give you great shit. Grinding for legendary weapons. It's all the same. It's an end game. It may be not like Destiny or Division end game, but there's an end game and it's fun.
Well, I think part of that thing too is that like the grind to getting to the end game in Fallout 76 is probably beefier than it is in a lot of other games.
Yeah, because you've got an entire like you
have
essentially
quests,
have an
you have
entire
side quests.
you have an entire main story to go
Yeah.
through.
So I think that it's okay if the end game takes time to develop.
Absolutely. And you're jumping from faction to faction to faction. There's no NPCs there, but you really are. You're going from the responders to the fire breathers to the Brotherhood to the Free States to the Enclave, and that's where you round off your story.
Yeah.
And it's all really for what it is, it's extremely well done. I think it is, at least.
When they got it working,
Sure,
I think
sure,
it got
yeah.
to be well done.
Plus, again, if you played it in the free weekend and you're listening to this, even to you, today started a double XP weekend.
Okay.
So all the way through the 24th, actually. So longer
Wow,
than just
okay.
a weekend, all
That's
the way
almost
through the
that's a
24th.
month.
Yeah, you've got a long time. No, it's not a month. This 24th, so 4 days.
Oh,
Yeah,
Got it.
you've
Okay.
got from now till the 24th, and you get double XP. Plus, you can get this game for like $20.
it's super cheap.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've been playing is Destiny 2. I said it the last time I was on the podcast. The season pass dropped down to $14.99 for the E3 sale that PlayStation was having. So I don't care if it's the worst DLC that Destiny's ever made. A season pass is worth
For 14, sure, yeah.
And my main thought jumping back into Destiny was, first, I was really overwhelmed. There seemed to be a lot of stuff to do, and there is a lot of stuff to do. But although the progression system is still not great, I'm never going to sit here and say that the way that Bungie has handled power since Destiny 1 is the right way to do a leveling system in any game, which is honestly the worst part about God of War, because they thought it was a good idea to copy Destiny.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never played.
It
God
has
of War.
it has like a power system, although armor is a little bit easier to get your hands on.
You just turn. I'll never play God of War now ever.
It's not random. It's not random drops. You can buy specific things, but your level isn't determined by experience points. It's determined by
what kind of
armor you're wearing.
Well, but the thing is too, you can find gear. You can actually do the hard things and get the higher level gear, and all of a sudden be like
Well,
way
you're
over
supposed to be
leveled.
able to do that in Destiny.
Yeah. But to that point, though, my biggest complaint since Destiny 2 came out, and even in the times where like we were playing it 7 days a week for 5 hours a night, I think that my biggest thing was that there just weren't enough things to do to get powerful drops, and some of the things that you had to do to get your powerful drops for the week were things you didn't want to do, like Crucible, or Gambit. Right now, I really think that Destiny 2 is in the best place it's ever been, because the sources of power, there are so many sources.
Sure.
Like now it seems realistic for if you were to jump in and play a shit ton on week 1 of Season of Opulence, I could understand how you could be 750.
Sure.
But it's not that these things are easy to do or that it's going to take you 20 minutes to go through all your powerful engrams. It's that there are so many sources that realistically, if you're playing like a normal human being, you can't do everything in one week.
Yeah.
So it allows you to prioritize the things that you want to do. If you want to go play the Forges, or if you want to play the Strike playlist, or if you want to go play the Menagerie or Raids, you can do that and not even have to touch Crucible.
Sure.
And then on top of that, like there's enough exotic quests. There's enough what do they call them?
Pursuits,
but
Bounties,
pinnacle weapons.
Pinnacle weapons. Sure.
There's enough pinnacle weapons and all these
Yeah,
other
but they
things.
all suck except for Breakneck.
Yeah, I haven't looked into them
Yeah,
too
the
much.
Gambit auto rifle's great.
But all of those things, like there's always something to pursue. And if you're the person that's like, I'm never going to touch Crucible now, I have no reason to, I'm not going to go
Sure.
after powerful engrams, then there are some things you're not going to get. You're not going to get Last Word. You're not going to get the Chaperone.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with there being exotic quests in my log that I'm never going to get because I'm just not interested in playing Crucible.
I'm okay with not getting another fucking hand cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, so the core gameplay hasn't really changed except for Menagerie, which I'm sure we'll talk about. The core gameplay and the core things that you're doing, you're still shooting things, you're still probably playing strikes that you played a million times. But now there's just more things for you to do to like get progression.
Sure.
On top of the fact that like I still haven't unlocked all the forges.
Sure.
I still haven't unlocked all of the runes on my chalice for the Menagerie. I still haven't started unlocking Reckoning armor, which I think Reckoning is pretty cool. I think that I need people to play it with because playing with randos sucks.
Sure.
So yeah, I think Destiny is in a really good spot, and I'm very happy with it.
To I guess piggyback off of that, like if you're listening, it's like I'm gonna go play it. Like here's my issue and my only pushback with that is like, yeah, there is a shit ton of things to do, and it's amazing that there's a shit ton of things to do. However, those things to do, either it's the same thing we've been doing since Destiny 2 launched, i.e. strikes, Gambit, Crucible, Flashpoints, heroic adventures, whatever it is. It's either the same thing we've been doing since year one, or the new things there are to do. It takes a year and a half to fucking finish anything. Just takes fucking forever to do them. And the problem still is either you do the short thing and you mix the thing. There's a shit ton of stuff to do. However, in the 5 hours that I played over the span of 3 days, I got 4 pairs of boots and 3 go figures out of powerful engrams.
Hey, I mean,
there's the issue right there. And
going back to the original statement, though, like I'm not. Obviously, there are still flaws.
And the like 2 or 3, maybe 4 of those things were long quests. They were things that took me hours to finish, and I got another go figure, or I got another pair of boots. Now, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Now, the go figure, the weapons, any weapon drop is good because you can usually put a kinetic or a primary into a primary, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Any weapon drop is good, but 4 go figures in a fucking row is a little ridiculous.
No.
But the armor, it's the same fucking thing. You give me boots that raise, 701, next one 701, next one 702. It's like, that's not progression. It's not progressing me. And their little smart loot system that they swear is in the fucking game isn't there. It's just not. Because if it was, I'd get boots, helmet, gloves, and maybe boots again. Whatever.
Yeah, and
it's
I mean,
just fucking.
To your point, the place where I led this conversation, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but the place where I led this is that the progression system still is not great.
It's not good at all.
The power system just is not good.
It's arbitrary, right?
It's arbitrary, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I need more numbers to get my numbers to do the things that I want to do.
But the problem is, and to more to your point too, Black Armory, the unlocking of the forges is just a ridiculously long grind that doesn't need to be there. However, that is the greatest progression system that they ever put into this game, because I can choose, I want a pulse rifle. Boom. I got a quest and I know I'm going to get a fucking pulse rifle at the end of it. I don't know why none of the other things are like that. It baffles me that this fucking system doesn't turn into that.
Well, and I'm seeing some things drop more often than not. Like, there is something about powerful engrams, and I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the weapons and armor that were introduced in the various seasons being specific to activities. So the loot pool isn't super diverse.
Sure.
But I think there's something definitely wrong, because I've gotten plenty, like, I'm still getting a shit ton of edge transits.
Yeah.
I'm still getting a bunch of, like, one of the weird hand cannons, the same one, I can't remember the name. Still getting a bunch of go figures. Probably. And like, obviously that sucks. But one of the cool things about this new season, which is something that I think they're really looking towards for Shadowkeep and year 3 of Destiny, is the Menagerie. Because, like, the Menagerie puts you in a place where, assuming that you've unlocked all the runes on the chalice, which is a thing, whatever, it's something you got to do and it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it doesn't suck. But once you get all those runes unlocked, say you go through all the things that you want
Sure.
to do for a powerful reward, you know exactly
I
what
can
you
choose
need to
what I'm
place
getting, yeah.
to grind for something
Yeah.
that you need. And on top of that, like if you really like that new Menagerie sniper and you want to use that sniper, but you want the perfect roll on it,
You can do it
every
over-
time you jump in. You can roll for it,
Yeah.
or you can set runes that you're rolling for the same thing. Like it's the first time in Destiny where you like it's classic MMO,
Yeah.
where you have a specific source of a specific item that you can grind over and over again.
Yep.
And the other thing about the Menagerie that is perfect, which totally destroys the Reckoning. Like the Reckoning, because of the way the Menagerie is set up, the Reckoning is one of the most useless things that they've introduced in their entirety of development of Destiny 2. Because the Menagerie isn't about beating a clock. It's not about doing a shit ton of DPS. It's not about trying to move as quickly as through this thing as you want. You can jump in at 690 and you can play the Menagerie and you're gonna suck, but everything you do adds progression
Yeah.
to what you're
There,
doing.
there's no fail
state.
fail state.
And it's awesome because you jump in and you're used to Destiny. Like Reckoning, if you haven't gotten like a certain percentage of kills,
You wipe.
Yeah, within like 2 minutes of the match, you
Yeah.
know that you're not going to complete it, which means that you just wasted 5 minutes.
Right. And you've also wasted your
You know, it gives it back
oh,
to
it gives
you.
it back.
But with the Menagerie, it's like, oh man, like not only is it sort of like mini raid mechanics that you can do without having to use a mic, but it doesn't matter if your team sucks. You're
Yeah.
just playing longer, which is not necessarily
Right.
a bad thing in the Menagerie because it's a shit ton of fun.
Which is great because I mean it all comes back around to, you know, and you can't talk. You can't. Destiny's a fucking amazing game. Like the gameplay about it, playing from the 20-second loop that Bungie created in Destiny is just fucking amazing. But it's always a waste of your time, unless
It's not.
RNG's on your side, right? Unless RNG's on your side, and then it's not a waste of time. Then it's the greatest fucking game in the world. But 90% of the time, you are literally wasting your time playing that game, except with the Forges and with the Menagerie, which is fucking amazing. Do you have all the new Destiny stuff in the news?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I will put it. Well, we can talk about it.
Yeah,
now.
so they just announced that for Shadowkeep, they're adding a transmog system into the armor, so you can make your armor look however you want it to look. However, I think only Eververse armor works for that.
They talked about it weird. They said
They
that like
did, yeah.
armor is there's basically gonna be these universal ornaments.
Yes.
And the way that they made it sound was that it could work for all armor but they really only confirmed it for Eververse armor.
Right? So like, hey, I got this armor set and I look like a fucking clown, but now I have all this Eververse armor unlocked that I can apply that look to my clown armor and look cool.
And basically just like pretty much every other MMO.
Yeah, it's a
out there.
transmog system,
Yeah.
100%. They talked about that. They talked about because they were on Guardian Con today.
They're getting rid of the way that the Bright Dust system works.
Yeah.
Now, not only do you have like specific sources of Bright Dust that you can do every week,
Yeah.
but you can also just grind Bright Dust by playing the game.
Yeah.
And the main way that that's going to work is that Bright Dust is only going to be for specific items in the Eververse, and breaking down items from the Eververse doesn't give you Bright Dust anymore. It gives you Legendary Shards,
yep.
which you can use to pull stuff that you have out of your collections, which is great because it's really annoying when you're leveling up and you want to use a cool shader and you have to spend 40 Bright Dust, and it's
Right.
like, oh, the thing you want, and you're
pull-
short.
Pulling anything out of your, I call it a stash. That's not right. Pulling anything out of your collections won't cost Bright Dust. Anything.
It's like
which is
Glimmer
really
and a
nice,
Legendary
yeah.
Shard.
So
really nice.
it's like D1
Yeah.
all over again.
But
Super
they're-
nice.
It really sounds like they're sort of positioning Eververse in a way that if you're a regular player that plays all the time, there's no reason to spend any money in
Sure,
Eververse.
yeah, 100%.
And really, like, we didn't talk about this, but the changes that they made with Season of the Opulence to the Eververse are great.
Yeah, the fact that the only thing that, and I was talking to Daniel about this, the only thing that kind of irks me is that I don't understand where I can't spend Bright Dust on any of the items that are in Eververse.
Yeah, they still have it set to where, like, you have that weekly...
Yeah, you have the little weekly thing. So at some point in time, the thing that I want will go through the weekly rotation of the things you can spend Bright Dust on. But if that's the case, then just let me spend Bright Dust on it. Don't make me artificially check every single reset.
Well,
so to get what I want, like that bothers the shit out of me.
I think part of the issue with that is the fact that the Bright Dust economy is kind of broken because
Sure.
in my mind, like, say you put like in my mind, you say that you can buy it with Bright Dust. I want to buy the specific set of a piece of armor, just from the Eververse store, and it's 100 coins. How does that translate to Bright Dust? Because in my mind, it should be a lot of Bright Dust, but you don't really have a lot of decent sources of Bright Dust.
Sure.
Like
Well,
at any given time, the average player, unless they're just hoarding all their Bright Dust, is only carrying like 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, like right now I've got like 4,000.
Yeah, I have like
That's
2,500.
That's from playing quite a bit. But imagine if you were like a streamer who does Destiny for their job. I've seen dudes have like 25,000 Bright Dust in their thing.
Yeah.
And I get that point is something I didn't think about, but that would break it, right? Oh, well, I'll just go buy all this shit and not spend silver at all. But you can still do that.
Well,
you just have to artificially log in every week to check and see if that thing is there.
You should be able to do that, but in the way that in my mind would make it fair, as like I've thought about buying stuff from the store right now because there's some stuff I like. I haven't done it just yet.
Don't do it, dude.
I might because
Don't feed into it.
But I don't see a problem with it because this is exactly what we've been asking for.
Yeah, sure.
I
You're right.
want this Sparrow. I can buy it with silver rather than trying to save up Bright Dust or wait for it to be in the rotation. I'm gonna do it because that's what I wanted.
Let me buy a new way to level.
But in my mind, like there's a way that you have to make that fair so that like not just everybody can get it, but
Sure.
not so that it's so unobtainable that only
Yeah.
the streamers that stream 24 hours a day can do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I was playing Destiny 2 today for maybe 30 minutes, and I'm unlocking the Izanagi Forge right now, and I have the ignition switch, and it's like go do these 3 heroic things, heroic events, right?
Uh-huh.
So I go to these planets and try to do these events, and God forbid Bungie instance me in with anybody also doing. You guys are touting there are over 1 million players now playing Destiny, and you can't fucking
put that in there too.
you can't fucking instance me in with anybody else on this fucking planet playing this heroic thing right now.
Well, like that's something that like. I mostly play Destiny solo, and this isn't just a Destiny 2 thing. This has been since Destiny 1. Since the series came out, I play it by myself. And one of the things that really spoke out to me when they were doing their Shadowkeep reveal was the fact that I think Luke Smith said, we really talk about how this game is best played with other players, but we're not really doing anything to help get players together in the game, and that's something we really want to look at over this next year of Destiny.
Sure.
And the thing that's frustrating for me, because I love that idea. Like, I remember one of the only like friends that I made in Destiny was during the beta. This guy named Ratha Nick. He's really cool. I think he still does some streaming now. But literally, it was like I'm running around looking for something in the Cosmodrome, and he like waves at me, and we like dance for a second, or not dance, like we like do other things for a second, and then we ended up like running a mission together. Then he invites me to a party, and we played the whole beta together. We played a shit ton of Destiny 1 together. He jumps in with me for Destiny 2 every now and again, but like that is something that hasn't happened since the original game's beta.
Yeah.
And there are no good social systems in Destiny 2.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's really annoying as a solo player to be like, I want to jump in and do the Reckoning. But if I want to do that, I need to use the Destiny LFG or I need to go to some third-party LFG. And everyone doesn't want to... Like, I was trying to get the fucking Legend of Acreus. I still hadn't finished that quest the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I just...
Damn.
You and Daniel had done it together, and I just wasn't playing. I wasn't on at the time. So it took me like 3 hours to find someone to do it with. And I only found one person because guess what everyone else is chasing? The new shit.
Yeah, they're chasing new shit. That sucks, man.
And it's like the fact that there aren't social systems, the fact that there isn't a way to be like, hey, I'm looking at the map. There are 4 people playing this public event. Well, this public event has nobody playing it. Let me go do the public event where people are at.
Sure, yeah.
And let me instance with those people. The fact that they haven't thought about this at all is just infuriating to me. And I really want, out of all the things that they talked about Shadowkeep, I really think they need to detail, like, what are your plans for doing this?
Sure.
Because that can make or break it, especially when you look at the last 3 seasons of content and you're like, oh, this is very much positioned towards people that have friends to play with.
Sure, yeah. And that's it. And that was the issue. Is it took me almost an hour and a half just to complete 3 heroic public events, because one of the public events is the Vex Conflux, where you have to stand in the 3 circles, and it's almost impossible to do that solo, because then if you're standing in a circle,
You're not protecting the spire.
nobody's protecting the spire. So, and even if you can see it, you've got to consistently leave the circle. So then there's no way to get all 3 within the time limit. The Glimmer, anyway, so it took me like an hour and a half to finish that, and it was frustrating because I was running all over Nessus, going back and forth to each one, trying to complete it. And luckily, after like an hour and a half of doing that, I got all 3 public events done. And I was like, fucking finally. And this was the thing, like in the description of this Izanagi Forge ignition, it's like, we have to fix the ignition switch, right? So it's basically like, here's your quest step, fix the ignition switch by doing these things. Cool, do it. Get the thing, open up their pursuits. Next quest step, it's like, oh, it's not ready yet. It's like, fuck, man. And I literally turned it off right there. It's like, I can't, I'm done.
Well,
I can't.
The Forge quests are really annoying.
Fucking do this, man. Like, I'm wasting my time because doing these public events, I'm not getting anything out of them. I'm forwarding a quest that, for sure, at the end of this, I'll be able to like go for that pulse rifle or whatever. But in the meantime, that was an hour and a half of my life wasted in video game land because I didn't get anything for it.
And the thing about those quests too, though, like they're kind of broken because they're very much built for people that were playing at the time.
Yo, 100%.
So you can jump in and get the Forge unlocked.
Sure,
And you're gonna jump into a thing that a bunch of people
I
are
imagine.
doing.
I imagine when that came out,
It was probably fine.
There were probably hundreds of people trying to do these public events all at the same time, and it took them 15 minutes.
Yeah, but as someone who's jumped in 6 months after the thing was there, it's
Sure.
like, ugh. That's part of the, like, I was going almost exclusively for the Forges, which is fine because, like, you're still getting your Prime Engram drops every, like, 1,000 kills
Yeah,
or whatever.
rarely.
But, I mean, the thing about we talked about this on the podcast. I know when a Prime Engram drop is going to happen because of that fucking formula
that
that guy
dude,
released.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I've gotten 2 legendaries. I'm going to get a Prime Engram next
Yeah.
drop. But the whole thing, like, to your point, like, you didn't think very far forward about
No,
this.
they don't. That's not Bungie's MO.
And it's the same thing with the Reckoning just pisses me off because it's such a good idea and it's such a good piece of content, and the fact that you have a specific area that you can go to grind for really cool armor is something that Destiny needs.
Yeah.
But it's like, you have completely ruined this
Yeah.
because it's fucking hard, and people jump out if they think they're not going to win because they don't want to waste their time.
Sure.
Then stop. Like, and this is another thing they need to learn, and I hope the Menagerie is an example of them learning this. It does not matter what you do in a game. It doesn't matter how much progress that should be made. You should never feel like you're going to lose and waste the time.
Yes, 100%.
In a game where I could be doing anything else, I could jump into a Crucible match and just sort of fuck around for 5 matches, and I know I'm going to get a drop. I know that I'm working towards something. But if you're going to put a timer on something, you need to like have some sort of reward that's worthwhile. That's not a blue piece of armor that I can't use.
Yeah.
That's not give me legendary shards. Why not? Why not give me legendary shards? Legendary shards have so many different things that you can spend them on now. They're a currency that's nothing. So why not just give me legendary shards and place a fucking blue armor that I don't want?
Yeah, I don't know.
and all this is like, I'm still on the side of Destiny is in the best place that it ever has
Sure.
been. But there are a lot of things that it's like, these have been problems since Destiny 1. Like, this
Yeah.
is not new to Destiny 2.
Yeah,
and I really hope that in this, bright future that everyone says Bungie has for Destiny 2, I really hope that these are all things that they're looking at for the long term.
Yeah, I hope with Shadowkeep, because I don't think it's going to happen before September.
No, it's not.
But I hope with Shadow, because every time, I would say 75% of the time I play Destiny, I walk away from a session going, I just wasted my time. And that's not a good thing. That's never a good thing when you're playing a video game. You always want to feel like you're progressing some sort of system. And I don't know. I don't know how they fix. I know how they fix it. I have ideas on how they fix that, but it's not. Fucking Luke Smith isn't listening to this podcast right now, so
Yeah.
it's not. It's not even worth discussing it to an extent. But like, I hope Shadowkeep fixes that. I hope Shadowkeep, every time I log into Destiny 2, and if I play for 30 minutes or I play for 9 hours. Good Lord, a 9-hour session would be ridiculous. 30 minutes
You
to
say that like you haven't done that before.
Yeah, that's true. I hope I feel like I progressed because like I said, right now, 75% of the time I don't.
Well, like, look at Escalation Protocol, right? Like, Escalation Protocol is another sort of classic MMO thing where you jump in. The worst part about it is you have to grind up to like level 7 of it
Yeah.
and not really get rewards. But you get to level 7, you get the boss, and you can do the boss as many times as you want to try to get the weapon drop for the
Yeah.
week. And yeah, it's frustrating when you play for like 2 hours like I did the other night.
You
and
couldn't
don't
do
get the
that at
drop.
the beginning.
Yeah, you couldn't.
When you beat that 7th level boss, it was over, and you'd have to start over from the beginning again.
And they fixed that, which is nice. But and now Escalation Protocol you can do with 4 people, which is how it should have been at the beginning.
Agreed.
I shouldn't have needed a group of 9 people in the same public event to do it.
100% agreed.
But you know, that's a really good mechanic because it's like it's the same thing with ESO. When I want that specific plan in ESO, I can grind that for hours, but I know that eventually I'm going to get the thing that I want.
100%.
And so if you leave early, then you're going to feel like your time is wasted and you might not go and do it again. But, you know, when we did the Escalation Protocol shotgun, that was a lot of fun.
It was a shit ton of fun.
It was fun seeing other people get it. It was fun when we both got it. It was frustrating when I got it before you. And you know, we
I
had
was
to stick
almost ready
around.
to quit, and I got it like the next time.
Yeah, and the next time you got it, like that's the kind of stuff in Destiny that's like I'm okay with that.
I
kind
agree.
Of mechanics.
We
Like
did-
if I'm chasing something specific and I know that the source is going to drop something that I want, I'm okay with playing that for a really long time.
Yep.
Even if it takes 50 tries.
Even if it takes 50 tries.
Dude, Whitney and I grinded for a motif in Elder Scrolls Online for probably 4 hours one day. We would kill a boss, go back, sell shit, wait the like 10-minute timer, go back, kill the boss again. We would literally do that. We probably did it for fucking 4 hours one day. And I had no problem with it because I knew at some point in time I was going to get the thing I'm looking for. But also, I'm killing a high-level boss that I know is going to drop loot that is relevant to my
And
character.
it's probably a fun boss fight.
Yeah,
all
it
the
was
Escalation
fine.
Protocol boss fights are fun.
Yeah, it was fine, and it's just it baffles me that the perfect example is Strikes. It baffles me that I can't get into a Strike playlist and play for 9 hours straight and feel like I'm progressing.
And the thing that's frustrating about that is that they figured it out.
they had it perfect in
They had
Destiny
it perfect.
1.
It was fine. Like you completely wrecked like one of the best, like one of the game modes that you sold me the game on.
Sure.
When I played the first Strike in Destiny 1, I was sold. Like more shit like this. Okay, cool. Let's do it, man.
Remember how many times we did that stupid with the fallen shank at the end of it so Rich and I could get that dumb Warlock helmet? We must have done it 80 times. And we were fine.
I'll never forget when we jumped into like a random playlist and we did the Taniks one. And I
you
got
got the
that
cloak,
fucking cloak that I wanted. That was one of the most rewarding experiences in the game, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yep.
But then you see other people walking around with like the Mind Flayer cloaks. And you're like, all right, man.
Yeah, I see you, Destiny.
I see
you.
And they did a little bit more on the news side, and then we can move completely on to the news. They did an interview with Jason Schreier on a Split Screen podcast. And they talked about a lot of things. Like one of the things that they talked about that I thought was really interesting is that they said like, we know a lot of players want us to basically bring the entirety of Destiny 1 over to Destiny 2. And he goes, and the problem that we're seeing with Destiny 2 right now is that eventually there has to be a Destiny 3 because the file size on this game is so large that you're cutting off part of your audience.
Yeah, that it takes 2 hours to download a damn update.
He's like, right now the game is like 92 gigabytes large. And so like, say we add all that stuff in and it makes a 200 gigabyte game. Well, a lot of people aren't going to jump in and play it because they have to delete all these different games, and people aren't using external hard drives and they don't have a terabyte one. But he did sort of hint at maybe a return to the Vault of Glass, which, I mean, the new raid is set in the Black Gardens, so why not do that at some point? He talked about the armor system a little bit more.
Atheon again.
That was that's still one of the best raids in Destiny.
Also, literally, still to this day, the best armor that's ever come out for that game. From Destiny 1 all the way to Destiny 2. I think the and not even the Age of Triumph version where like change the Hunter's leg to a Vex leg.
Yeah, just the basic one.
The base Titan, Hunter, Warlock, Vault of Glass. It was called started with an H. Anyway, that armor to me still is the greatest armor that's ever been out in Destiny.
I have to think about it. I think I really liked the Oryx armor for the Hunter.
I was going to say
didn't care about anyone
King's
else.
Fall is really close.
King's Fall I thought was
very
really
close,
good.
but yeah, that Vault of Glass armor.
But then you start getting like, which is another thing that they figured out. Where you start getting all these fucking ornament armors that are
they
hardcore.
They figured it out, and it's in Destiny 1. But guess just what's completely missing from Destiny 2? I still look like a fucking monk with robes on. I'm a space wizard, god damn it.
No, there's like one set of armor.
Make me look like a space wizard.
There's technically 2 sets of armor that they've released in this like last year that I really want. I still really want the Forge armor. looks badass on everyone.
Yeah.
And then I think the Reckoning armor, at least for the Hunter, looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just a pain that I'm probably never going to get it because the grind
Well, the
sucks.
Reckoning armor for the Hunter is the exact same as Gambit armor.
Yeah.
It's so you can just go do Gambit and get it.
Yeah, but the cool thing about it's like
It's got the
white
snake
and it has
stuff,
like
yeah,
the
sure.
glowy parts, which I'm a sucker for glowy parts in Destiny. Remember that awesome Taken armor from the Eververse?
Yes,
Ugh.
dude.
You had that weekly package. I remember every week, even if I didn't play Destiny
And
that week,
you-
I would still log
yes,
on just to
man.
get that one thing.
So you could try to get an entire set of Taken
Yeah.
armor, and you look all fucking Taken. And then they gave you the emote where you're all where you twitch and
Yeah,
shit.
I forgot about that. So yeah,
Just go back and play Destiny 1. Fuck Destiny 2.
yeah, but let's just go back. I mean, honestly, I didn't play like that entire last year of Destiny 1, so there's shit for me to do.
Fuck.
But yeah, so I'm sure there's some other Destiny stuff that I'm missing, but we've
It's
been talking
all right.
about it for a while.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the news, though. In conversation with Kotaku, the series producer of Breath of the Wild, E.G. Anuma, admitted that the team behind the original game decided to create a sequel because it had too many ideas for DLC. Anuma also won't confirm or deny whether or not Zelda will be a playable co-op partner in the upcoming sequel.
That means she will.
I think it means she won't. I think Nintendo just won't answer. After being directly asked by IGN, Anuma responded, quote, "It's kind of interesting that you bring that up because in Breath of the Wild, you see Zelda and Link together often too. So to go straight into the thought of co-op is very interesting to me." It just seems so non-committal.
Polite Japanese man.
Yeah.
right there.
Japanese people.
But like, so they did. I don't know. I didn't listen to the last podcast. But they did say that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be using the same map from Breath of the Wild, which it's probably going to be updated and have more stuff in it. But like the structure is going to be the same.
Sure. Is it like I think I've talked to you about this. Like the Breath of the Wild's a fine game.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It sucks as a Zelda game, but it's fine. I don't understand the Game of the Year aspect of this game. Like, it's so empty.
Well, I
and then
think
if you're going to use the same map again,
well, and that's my thing about the co-op thing is like, why not add co-op? Like, what are, at that point?
yeah,
like,
what's stopping you?
yeah, let people play with their friends.
Yeah.
You know, I think, but to go to that part of the conversation, I think Breath of the Wild is a bad Zelda game. I think it is a great game, and I think part of the reason why it's a great game is that it's Nintendo's like really first time like investing in an open world
Sure.
game.
Yeah.
And so there's a level of detail and just thought that's put into it that, you know, we get multiple titles of these throughout the year,
Sure.
and a lot of them are grindfests or just not fun, or you only do certain things in the world and avoid other parts of it. So I think that that's part of the reason why people love it so much. Is it's that Nintendo finally did an open world game, and it's exactly what you would expect from Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because like I feel like Ocarina of Time felt more alive than Breath of the Wild does, because at least in Ocarina there's cities to go to and there's people doing things. Granted, it's not like we're not talking like fucking Cyberpunk's 2077,
Yeah.
but there's people there. Like Breath of the Wild feels like Fallout 76. It's just a completely empty world that doesn't feel like it has a lot of meaning to it.
I don't know. I don't know if I would agree with it.
I felt that way because I mean, there's nobody in it. Like I played, and granted, I didn't explore this entire. Like I went to and did everything I could. But in Breath of the Wild, I'm not one of these guys that put in 9,000 hours into it. But it's rare that you run into somebody who's like, oh, I'm looking for my goat.
Yeah.
Where is I'm in Hyrule, man.
Well, I think the thing that they do really well in Breath of the Wild, part of it is because the weapon system in that game is really
God,
shitty.
I hate that fucking system.
So, they kind of have to do this. But part of what they did really well in Breath of the Wild is that it didn't really matter what you were doing, like what you were exploring. There was always something to explore. There was always a
Sure.
new point on the map that you can go and
Right.
you can go and do like this mini dungeon, or you can go and check out these ruins, or you can climb up to the top of something. Most of the time in the game where you see something that you're like, man, I want to go check that out, the game rewards you.
Sure.
And there were some clumps of NPCs throughout the map, and there were really interesting locations that were spread out really far. Like when you go to the desert and
yeah, the Gerudo
Yeah.
stuff, and yeah.
like some of that stuff is really cool. And I guess you're right, there aren't a lot of NPCs running around the world, but I never felt like my time was wasted. I always felt like I was
Yeah,
being
no, I know.
rewarded and getting something.
Yeah, no, I don't think I
And
don't.
I
didn't-
felt like there was like this weird sense of history that was obscure
Sure.
and that I was never going to know about, but I was so curious about
Yeah,
as I was
yeah,
checking things out.
I don't think I ever meant to make it seem like I was like my time was wasted, but I do.
No. I'm saying that the way that they get around that
Sure,
issue
yeah.
of it being empty
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that your time never feels wasted.
And like I said, I feel like the exact same argument that a lot of people have with 76 is the argument I have with Legend of Zelda. Why I say this is a terrible Zelda game.
It's not a Zelda game.
fucking terrible Zelda game. Like from Ocarina of Time to Link's Awakening, all the way to the original. It's like I was going, the outside world and me fighting monsters and doing all these things is the path to get me from city to city and see what the hell's happening with all this. Wind Waker even did it better. In Wind Waker, everything was fucking flooded, right? But at least I felt like there were things in this world that were happening around me. Where in Breath of the Wild, it feels like nothing's happening except for what I'm doing. And I don't think I like that feeling in a game.
Going back to it being a bad Zelda game, though, is that again, I agree with that. I think the part of it that makes it unique from all those other games, and again, this is not something that you need in a Zelda game, but there's that sense of freedom,
Sure.
that you don't have in a Zelda game.
Sure, yeah.
That the Hyrule as a place in Ocarina of Time is probably more interesting than Hyrule is in Breath of the Wild, but you know what you can't do in Ocarina? You can't get on a rock, set it to basically explode and launch you to the final boss of the game.
Sure.
At the beginning.
Sure.
Of it. And which is something that people like because of Skyrim. This is a Skyrim effect.
Yep.
Like Breath of the Wild is very much a product of a Skyrim world, and but like people, like to a lot of people, like that freedom. It doesn't matter that you're breaking the convention of what a Zelda game is. It doesn't matter that at a certain point you're not making a Zelda game at all anymore.
Sure.
What people want is freedom.
Sure.
Don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't either. That it's almost like taking Metroid and doing that to Metroid, right? Oh, people want freedom. Let's do that in Metroid. It's like, no, I don't want that in Metroid.
Make a new IP.
Sure.
But in terms of like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as an answer to Skyrim, I think it's exactly what you should expect from Nintendo. Whether or not that's your kind of game is whatever. And I like Breath of the Wild for different reasons than I like other Zelda games, but I would never get on a cross and say that Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game, because it's not.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I still don't think it's a good game. I think it's fine. I think there's it's one of those things that's like Destiny. It's like I'll never stop playing Destiny, but I also am not going to be the dude that recommends Destiny to players.
At this point, you can't.
Sure. I don't think I'd ever recommend it because it's the little things. It's the fact that I can't find a weapon that I really fucking like and stick with that weapon from level 1 to whatever it is. I'm consistently having to use weapons that I just don't fucking like because of that stupid weapon system.
We keep talking about Destiny, but like that's 100% Borderlands too, and that's part of the fun of Borderlands, right?
But Borderlands, you're not changing guns because they break. You're changing guns because there's a progression system that keeps giving you.
I was comparing to Destiny.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I was not comparing it. To
Yeah,
Breath
sure.
of the Wild.
Anyway, yeah, okay, yes, I 100% agree with you. But yeah, it's those little things about Breath of the Wild that it's like. I just can't. I can't. I'll never recommend it. I'll never say it's a good game because of those little things.
I think I could recommend it more than any Zelda game because it has such wide market appeal.
But man, like you got stuff like Link's Awakening coming out on.
Oh man, I can't stand that game. It looks so fucking ugly to me.
Sure, the game doesn't look great, but that's still one of the best Zelda games that's ever come out. That was the first one that really gave you the idea of like. I've got to go do these like 5 things before I can do the last thing, right? That's the Zelda game to me.
I just think that the average person, Zelda just doesn't work for them.
Yeah, probably.
Like,
you're probably right.
You are never going to have someone that plays Breath of the Wild and gets stuck on the water temple.
Yeah, you're.
But like Twilight Princess, which is a great Zelda game, I stopped playing because I got
stuck in
so
the water
lost
temple.
in the water temple that
Sure.
I couldn't even use a guide to figure out what I had done last.
Wow.
Like I fucked up that dungeon so bad and I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, fuck this, I'm done.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Because there are
dungeons, but the dungeons are like they're very much from point A to point B to point C.
And the ones that aren't like that, you have that. It was the beasts, right?
Yeah.
And those are fine, whatever. But
And you know, other Zelda games, like you can jump into most dungeons in a 3D Zelda game, and although there is one optimal path to get through it efficiently, it gives you multiple avenues to explore.
Sure, yeah,
And it's so easy to get lost.
yeah, it really is. And those are the things I missed about. Anyway, we can move on.
According to In Exile's CEO, Brian Fargo, Larian Studios wasn't the only RPG developer trying to develop Baldur's Gate 3. In conversation with IGN, Fargo said the following, quote, "You know, both me and Obsidian CEO were chasing that for years. Larian CEO too, all of us for a decade." End quote.
I think I'm happy with who has it.
Oh,
I think
100%.
Obsidian would have been just fine too, but
Yeah.
I think I'm real happy with who has Baldur's Gate.
I'm not a big fan of the Wasteland games. I know a lot of the recent Wasteland games. I know a lot of people are.
Yeah, I think Wasteland 2 is fucking phenomenal. I mean, Wasteland 2 is literally Fallout 1 and 2, and it's great.
I just think that like the thing about those games that I'm not a big fan of is it's not that I'm not a big fan of it. It's just that like the learning curve for those games is so much steeper than anything Obsidian or Larian has done. And that's fine. Like there are people out there that like the game, but I don't have like the time to learn a new language when I'm playing a game.
I get it.
And Obsidian has done a really good job recently. But when you look at like Obsidian's games and you compare them to Divinity Original Sin 2, I really think for me as a gamer, the quality of Divinity Original Sin 2 compared to Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny, I think it far exceeds it. There's just a level of polish for an indie game by like one of these classic RPG developers, and there's just a way that they've sort of modernized the genre while keeping to its roots. And I also think that like Larian did a really good job of sort of giving you an amount of freedom that makes it feel like D&D, even though it's not at all.
Yeah.
You know, those are just my opinions.
Yeah,
Like, I'm happy Larian has it because I feel like they're like, not only are they slated to make a really good game that hits those, you know, CRPG roots, but they've also made a game that I don't think is going to ostracize an average gamer.
That was going to be my point. I think Larian Studios is a better equipped studio to make this game appeal widely to a lot more people than Obsidian were. Because, you know, Obsidian, you tried Pillars of Eternity and you were like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't.
And I love.
You were like, I can't do this. Like you said, a new language.
The first time I played it.
Yeah.
And the second time, after I had tried Wasteland 2 again, I was like, oh no, this is fine.
Yeah, and see, and then that's the thing is like, that's where it's like, I'm coming from. It's like, yeah, I would like to see a Baldur's Gate that has that much depth, but I'm also really happy that I don't have to learn a new language when Baldur's Gate comes out.
And you know, like the Divinity does have a little bit of that, but Divinity, like, just that learning curve isn't so steep.
Not to the extent of these other games. Like you can jump into Divinity and within an hour know advanced tactics, right?
Yeah, which is like something that's infuriating about Pillars to me is the fact that like I like Pillars, but the fact that like your party is so huge and it doesn't do a great job of sort of showing you like optimal ways to use your party. I feel like you just see a line of people run in, we fuck something up, and then line of people keeps running, and I'm like, am I even controlling any of these characters at this point? Because like I don't know what I did. And Divinity, it's like, and part of it is the turn-based nature, which honestly like. The fact that hasn't come into Western RPGs more is kind of weird to me because it works so well in Divinity because you have direct control over your character. You know exactly what that character is doing. You're reacting to what's going on the field, and it doesn't feel like it takes forever unless you're playing with 3 other people.
Now, I do hope they don't go turn-based in Baldur's Gate. I hope they keep it like 1 and 2, and it's like top-down Diablo style gameplay. I don't want to see a turn-based combat system in Baldur's Gate personally. I would rather have the top-down Diablo-style gameplay.
I feel like if you're Wizards of the Coast and you're sort of using this as a way to onboard people to D&D, I feel like you pick Larian because of that.
Maybe. I'm just saying as me personally. I would rather keep tried and true to the Baldur's Gate series and give me that you know, Diablo-style gameplay where I can go, you know, move around freely and press X to swing your weapon.
I would be fine either way because, you know, like the Baldur's Gate games played like that. It was a BioWare version of that, so it did feel tactical and had like those elements that I was looking for. But I'm sort of just expecting is like just the way that they've sort of been marketing it. I guess in my mind, this is the first time I've ever thought about the fact that it could possibly not be turn-based.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
In my mind, I was like, I already know what this game looks like.
Sure.
This one is a fun news story. EA's Kerry Hopkins defended loot boxes to the UK Parliament's Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee today. Why are Parliament names so fucking committee names so long?
Because they're real proper.
And she said that loot boxes are merely, quote, surprise mechanics, end quote, and are, quote, quite ethical, end quote. Scottish National Party MP Brendan O'Hara said that evidence suggests a, quote, close link, end quote, between loot boxes and gambling, especially among adolescents. He then asked Hopkins and a representative of Epic Games, who was there to talk about Fortnite, if they considered loot boxes to be an ethical feature. Quote, this is from Hopkins. Oh yeah, it tells you. We don't call them loot boxes, Hopkins began, adding that EA instead refers to them as surprise mechanics, and then elaborated on what exactly that means and why these surprise mechanics are just like blind pack toys. Quote, if you go to a store, and the exact quote here that I didn't put on here, but I think it's so funny, she goes, if you go to I don't know what your version of Target is.
Yeah.
Target's in the fucking UK, you dumb bitch. But if you go to a store,
Their version's Target.
yeah. If you go to a store that sells lots of toys and you do a search for surprise toys, what you'll find is that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises, and so it's something that's been part of toys, whether it's Kinder eggs or Hatchimals, LOL surprises. We do think the way that we have implemented these kinds of mechanics in FIFA is actually quite ethical and quite fun, enjoyable to people, end quote. Of course, she also explained that EA does not consider loot boxes to be gambling. Quote, I don't think we can agree to say that games are addictive. I would tell you that EA is already a very responsible company, end quote. So responsible that they took a Lucas property, made a game about it, added loot box that pissed off consumers to the point where Disney made them take the loot boxes out of their games.
Well, I agree with the fact that loot boxes are like blind packs or Pokemon
I agree with that too.
Or Magic the Gathering cards. Whatever parallel you want to draw there, and I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. Loot boxes in that respect are fine because you can choose what you want to spend your money on. That's up to the consumer, right? However, to your point, the loot boxes in Battlefront locked a video game progression system behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's where you run into like ethical problems, right? That's where you're tricking your consumer into spending more money than they should be spending because they feel like they need to buy a loot box just to progress a character.
I think you're right. I agree with that. I think the core difference between the two, though, and the part where like the disconnect starts for me is that with a blind box as a toy, you are getting a physical object that you own and that is in your hand, right?
Sure.
Whereas like for a digital loot box, you get a digital thing that you may not have necessarily wanted, but has no monetary value or no object permanence.
Yeah.
And of course, like that's going to be a choice you're making regardless of whether or not you get the thing you want or the thing that you don't want.
Right.
But it feels like less of a jip when I open up a blind Funko box because at least I still have a thing. It's a thing that's physically there that I can put on a shelf and it's going to exist in the same capacity as the thing that I want.
Yeah, I think that comes down to what do you value as a consumer, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes I would value a really cool outfit in Fallout 76 over a blind box toy. Mm-hmm. To me, I would value that thing more than the physical object.
If they're both in loot boxes, and the only way to get both of them are through either a blind box or a loot box.
Yes, and that's what I mean.
Say they're comparable prices because like that's the part of the other issue is most blind box toys are like $15.
Yeah, I think so because
or probably like $10.
You know, in some respects, and again, this is just me personally. In some respects, yeah, I would, and it's only specific. I would value certain things like that, right? Mm-hmm. But to your point as well, it's like it isn't a physical object. It's not like, so I buy this blind box. I could go to a comic book shop and be like, hey, I got this. How much will you give me for it? I'll give you half toward another blind box, right? It's not like you don't have that sort of economy in a video game format. So there really is, to your point, there really is no value to digital shit unless there's some sort of way to sell it in a digital marketplace in whatever game you're in.
And we've also seen that leads to a lot of other gambling problems.
Diablo 3, the beginning of Diablo 3.
Price markups that are ridiculous. And I don't know how you figure out that system, right? I actually think Steam does a pretty good job of having like these cards that you can trade and give you things in, but like the value of the cards as determined by the market, because they've released so many of them, is only like 3 or 4 cents.
Yeah. I think, but yeah, I think, like I said, I get her parallel. It's true. You know, you can't deny that her reasoning and parallel is true, but it's about who your consumer is and what they actually value with their own dollars, right? I would much rather spend, and that's the thing, like, you know, Fallout 76 is a bad thing because there's no loot boxes, but like, give me a loot box game. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, like, let's just say you have, because
let's say I have $5. I have $5 extra dollars.
You have $5 and Fallout 76 has these new loot boxes that give you skins for your power armor.
Right.
But Funko has also released blind boxes of all the different power armor in Fallout.
Right.
Right? So you can take that $5 and you can drop it on a loot
Which
box.
one? Right, exactly.
Which one are you going to choose? Or you can get the physical object that is a little power armor guy.
Yeah.
May not be the one that you want, but you know, you also run the risk of getting a pink skin instead of the one that you want.
Sure, yeah, and that's the thing, right? That's where, you know, I think loot boxes are there. I think that's where we are for the most part with loot boxes in video games, and I think that's fine. They're, you know, the biggest argument still, which she avoided hard, is the adolescent gambling issue, right? Because it's all it takes is a kid going, "Mom, can I borrow your credit card to buy this one thing?" And guess what's on the PlayStation or the Xbox? Unless the parent's paying attention, that credit card number is saved.
Yep.
So the kid can just keep buying and buying and buying and buying. It's what happened with that. The thing that really kicked this off is that kid spent what, $10,000. And it, you know, that's the issue, which she avoided hard.
Well, and that's something that, like, I also have a really hard time. Like, I get it that, you know, you have a business talking to Parliament in the UK, and so no business is going to be like, oh, we do things irresponsibly.
Yeah, sure.
But I would almost rather you not say fucking lying bullshit than you know, saying nothing at all. And so she says, like, we're a responsible company. The way that we handle this is very ethical and all this other stuff. It's like, but no, it's not. Like, you look at the way that video games are developed now, and the idea is to get you addicted. It's to play on the parts of your brain that release pleasing chemicals to your body that make you want to do it more, so you get more of those chemicals released. They are feeding off of our biology, and they are making things addictive on purpose, which is fine. It's how that works, and it's a business model, and it's meant to manipulate you, and I know that as a gamer, and so I can make that choice when I've played 3 hours of Destiny, and I've been getting a lot of drops that I really want, that maybe I should put the controller down and do something else for a while. And if I'm not doing that, I'm making that choice because I'm aware of
that part of your statement's untrue. You don't play Destiny for 3 hours and get things you want. That just does not happen.
Lately I have been.
You were very lucky,
and then I get
sir.
the one thing I don't want.
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck this game, I'll play
very
tomorrow.
Lucky, very lucky, sir.
But the thing that really pisses me off is that she's like, we're responsible, we're ethical, it's not addictive. It's like, yes, it is.
Sure, yeah.
And that's okay that it is.
Yes.
But let's not pretend like you're a maverick in the fucking gaming industry and you're the one company that is not trying to make your players spend time and money on your product by feeding them pleasing chemicals.
Don't you think it's kind of interesting now, though, like how before, like in the early 2000s, they were like, oh, video games are addictive, don't let our kids play, when objectively there was more content and more like good things in video games that didn't try to actually get you addicted to the game.
Yeah, no.
Then, when now they're actually designed that way.
No, I mean, like, there is very
everyone's
much
fine with it.
There's this culture that's against video games, and there's like this culture that I'm learning about that's sort of against D&D. But all of these things have really
Why?
Well, because like
Christians,
you're adults sitting around playing pretend. But the thing that people don't understand is that, like, in a video game, especially a social game or a social tabletop game like D&D, what you're building is like people's ability to work on puzzles, to work their way through problems together, to communicate better.
Sure.
These are all things that we've seen at our table over the course of the year that we've been playing together, is that, like, some people talk a certain way before, and now they realize that doesn't get anything done, and so they're adjusting the way they talk to one another. It makes you more of a team player, more of a group member. Like, there's all these positive things that video games do, and to your point, early 2000s games were doing that, and there was no extra hook besides the $50 that you spend on the game and the $20 you spend on a console. And now it's like there's this weird business side of it where we can see all the harmful things happening in games, and rather like, and it feels like very few people are actually having the conversation about that anymore.
Yeah. When that was like the original argument for against it.
It's like they're addictive. They cost a lot of money. It's like, okay, well now you buy a $60 Call of Duty game plus a $30 season, or actually $60 season pass plus all these loot boxes.
Yeah,
you
$50
can invest
loot boxes.
hundreds of dollars into a video game, whereas like a decade ago, you buy a $60 game and that's your game. Mm-hmm. You got that game, and there are things to unlock and do in that game. It's not extra, but let's avoid the addictive conversation now.
Mm-hmm,
Now,
right.
like at the time where like video games are sort of at their, and some companies are at their most exploitative.
Mm-hmm.
Let's avoid the conversation about that.
Yep.
This makes me.
Awesome.
I don't like being lied to.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, like
It
I
just
said,
pisses me
like I
off.
said, I there's points that I agree with her, but she's avoiding the overarching problem. Is it's the and I wouldn't call the overarching problem the addictive nature of video games. It's just like it's the same thing as the addictive nature of somebody who enjoys reading.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same chemicals when you're reading. It's the same fucking chemicals that are released in your brain for people that really enjoy reading. That's why some people can get through a book a day.
Well,
Is because they can that's something that triggers in them when they're reading that book. It's or watching a movie or watching your favorite TV series or eating your favorite chocolate. It's all the same fucking thing. And I don't think the addictive nature of a video game is bad. I've never thought that. But the problem, like I said, she's avoiding is that the adolescents getting addicted to it. And really that's, unfortunately, I don't feel like that's on the company.
No.
That's on parents.
I,
Or the person.
Well,
It's, I think the company can take responsibility and help, but I really think it's on the individual person and whoever that their maybe their parents or guardian is.
I do think that there's an argument though about video games being dangerous in a way that, and again, I think as an adult you should know what you're doing with your time.
Sure, yeah.
And so you should be making choices as an adult.
Yeah.
And if you're not making those choices, that's not on anyone but you.
Right.
But in terms of kids, like when you're reading a book or watching a TV show or watching a movie or doing any other activity, you have these releases that happen in your brain, but no one can really measure that. But in a video game, like people, like if you believe that video game companies aren't collecting data on every person that's playing their game and putting them into giant spreadsheets to figure out how best to keep you playing
Sure,
your games, you're a fool.
Yep.
And so there's like this direct feedback loop.
We should email that link to Bungie.
Yeah. There's this direct feedback loop that exists in all these
Yeah,
games.
100%.
It's like,
Yep.
I know that when this person gets this sort of item in their loot box, they're going to play,
Yep.
even if the next loot box doesn't give them what they want.
Yep.
And again, I'm an adult. I'm aware of what Destiny is doing to make me keep playing Destiny.
Sure.
I'm aware of what Borderlands is doing to keep making me play Borderlands. But as a child, like, you don't know.
You don't get it right.
And some parents don't know. Like, I don't know how the makeup world works. If I ever had a daughter and she was getting really invested in the makeup world, there might be some dangerous shit about makeup that I don't
Sure.
understand that I am allowing her to do.
Sure.
And that's not an excuse for me as a parent, but that's just the reality of the
Sure,
world.
but you as a responsible parent would do everything you could to figure out the system or figure out whatever that is.
That's like my horror.
Yeah,
my nightmare is spending money on makeup. It's just like I don't understand it.
But yeah, I think it's hard. At least this is coming from a person who's been playing video games for 30 video games for 30 fucking years. It's really hard to point out, an issue that the companies making this are 100% responsible for. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to be like, yes, you are the one, EA, you are responsible for this. Other than, of course, the unbelievable malpractice of loot boxes, but I think we've gotten better.
It's kind of like the liberal white guilt argument, because the issue isn't that if everyone was as knowledgeable about the things that we know that are exploitative in video games,
Yeah, sure.
and the people that argue about this online and are pushing legislation about this, if everyone was as knowledgeable about this, there wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is that there
Sure.
are that like. And this is things that no one would ever say, but the thought is there are enough dumb people out there that aren't going to do the research to figure this stuff
Sure.
out that it suddenly becomes our job to protect those people.
Sure, yeah.
But the reality is that people are uninformed.
Sure,
People
and-
are ignorant.
Right, and I come from the mindset of like that's not my fault and that's not my responsibility. Like if you're going to invest in something, you either whether it's time, money, whatever it is, it's your job and your responsibility to learn,
know about
to
the shit
know,
you're
to
doing.
at least be knowledgeable about what you're investing in and what you're putting time in and what you're getting into. And that goes all the way, that goes to a parent who has an 8-year-old kid who gets addicted to Fortnite and spends $10,000 on your credit card. That's not Fortnite's fault. That was that parent's fault. I think Fortnite can be held responsible by making a addictive game, but that again, like I said, it's really, really fucking hard for me to blame Fortnite for that. You know what I mean?
And that's also part of the argument too. Is like, at what point are video games basically, or video game developers and publishers basically sharks feeding on ignorance? Right?
I mean, they are.
Like there's
You got to be honest, they are.
There's a thing like in a perfect world. I think Destiny. Not to keep talking about Destiny. I think Destiny has always done a pretty good job with the way that they handled the loot engrams. Is that like you earn enough of them that you don't really need to buy it, but you can buy them.
Sure, yes.
And sure, it's going to shoot off those sides of,
Yes,
of
yes,
your
of
brain that are
course.
like, I need to spend more money so I can get the
course.
thing that I want. But really, like at that, I don't feel like Bungie was ever exploiting anybody,
No,
right?
I don't think so.
But then you have like a game like Fortnite. I feel like after you spend $500 in the game, it should probably be like, yo, wait. You know what you're doing, right? Like maybe every $500 you check in. Like like how every 10 hours every 10 hours on Netflix, it's like, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe I
Is
guess.
everything going okay?
I guess I don't know, man. I like I said, I think this is my I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing. This is my old school thinking. It's like it's your own damn fault if you fuck up.
No, I think I'm on both sides.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's hard. I get the other side. Like I get the other side. It's just it's if you fuck up, it's your fault and it's your responsibility to fix it. And it's like I said, I get the other side. I get the other side that we talk about. It's just like, it's just hard for me to place blame on somebody like that because it's not like this isn't a new thing, right? Apple does it. Microsoft does it. Fucking McDonald's does it.
Yeah.
Every big company in this world feeds on the public like sharks.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
And that's where like I'm at. I'm like, people shouldn't be dumb, but companies shouldn't be sharks.
Sure.
Like-
but companies
But like, I feel like everyone just kind of sucks.
Sure, but once like big box business opened up in the like 70s and 80s, sharks happen, and that's part of the American economy. Unfortunately, it fucking sucks, but like everybody fucking does it, and it's no surprise that video games do it. So it's like, again, it's our responsibility to understand where the sharks are and avoid that part of the ocean. But again, I get the other side too. I get the side of the I get both.
Yeah. Let's jump into quick saves. Adi Shankar, the producer behind Netflix Castlevania and upcoming Devil May Cry series, explored the dark side of Pokemon in his bootleg series on YouTube.
What?
It's really weird. It's really weird and dark.
Is it like cartoon?
It's cartoon. It's
Is it
like
Pokemon?
it looks like a trailer for a movie. And the
Okay.
idea is that Pikachu dies in a battle, and so Ash is like, I gotta free all the Pokemon. So it's like these really like weird rendered drawings of like buff Pokemon with like muscles and like that look like
That's
like
weird.
the animals, and they're like killing each other and killing people,
God.
and
That's
it's really
weird.
dark. It has like a Hotline Miami sort of thing to it. Like people are running around with like Pokemon masks on and like Letterman jackets, and they have like bats and stuff, and
that's
they're like
fucking
beating
weird.
up gym leaders.
Is it weird? Is it like one of those scenes that's like, hey, don't do this to my childhood? Weird?
No, I didn't feel that
okay.
way. It was
Okay.
more like it's weird that we live in a world where someone made this.
Sure. So
It's also kind of nice that this will never actually be made.
So like a few years ago, there was like a resurgence of like fan made Power Ranger things, and there was a big kind of like maybe 15-minute Power Ranger thing starring James Vanderbeek, famous of Dawson's Creek, where he was hunting down Power Rangers and killing them.
I remember that,
killing Rangers, and it was really cool. It was one of those things like, man, that's pretty rad. However, I'm uncomfortable because you did that to my childhood.
I get,
you know what I mean?
I guess it's kind of like that, where you're like, this is cool, but also like it's kind of weird to see Venusaur kill a Ninetales.
And I feel, but that's the thing is, I feel like Pokemon, it would be even. I don't think I want to see that. Like, I don't think I want to see Pokemon kill each other. It was bad enough when Pokemon Origins came out and they showed Cubone's mom dying.
Yeah.
That was bad enough, right? That's like, I don't think I want to watch this series because now I know Pokemon can actually die.
That actually happened in the game, though.
I understand that, but they didn't show it in Red and Blue.
If that's how you feel, I don't think you should watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see Venusaur kill a Ninetales.
If the Origins things was like,
I mean, like in Origins, you literally see Team Rocket take guns out and kill Marowak.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man.
I'll have to rewatch that. I feel like it was.
You,
I feel
dude.
like it was actually traumatic to you, but I feel like it was so traumatic that you've like blown the scene out of proportion.
I'm not saying we saw like fucking Grand Theft Auto drive-by murder scene, but we saw and like maybe shadow version of maybe shadow.
I feel like I'm gonna watch it and be like, oh my god, how I just blocked this out of my mind.
You like psychologically like erase that in your head. Yeah, I don't think I want to see that.
For those of you holding your breath to see the E3 behind closed door demo of Cyberpunk, you won't have to wait much longer. The extended demo will be made public during PAX West 2019.
Oh, sweet. Hopefully that sells me. I'm still not sold in Cyberpunk, man.
I feel like you of all people, the only person on this podcast who's ever finished The Witcher 3, the fact that like you aren't convinced that you're going to buy Cyberpunk
Sure.
and play through it and probably be the only person in this room to beat it again
Sure.
is crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not sold on it yet. I'm just not.
Because you don't like first-person games.
Yeah, no, that's 100. No, that is
that is exactly it.
Yeah, no, that is probably the biggest argument. But even then, that shouldn't stop me. I still play first-person games. I'm not sold on this.
And if anything, it should sell you more because at least your character's in every fucking cutscene. It's not like
and
Dishonored where you're just looking through the eyes of Corvo and you never actually get to see Corvo.
No, yeah, that's true. Plus, there's like you get to see boobs and stuff, so everybody likes
great,
that.
I think.
Yeah. Everybody but gay people agree that boobs are great.
The upcoming Gears of War movie is set in an alternate universe, so don't worry about the same story being told again. I don't know.
What? Say that again?
The upcoming Gears of War movie is set in an alternate universe.
I didn't even know there was a Gears of War movie coming out. Look at that.
I didn't either. Why do we need this?
I don't know. Because
honestly like,
because it's sharks exploiting people's happiness.
If you ask like 16-year-old Trey, he had like a list of video game movies he wanted to be made. But like 26-year-old Trey is kind of just like, honestly, like no movie is going to be able to tell the same sort of story that a video game can tell. And maybe Gears of War is like the easy pickings, but like
I don't know, because it's one of those things. Is like, you know what makes you so like. I don't think I played Gears 1, 2, and 3. I haven't played it since then. But you know what made Gears so appealing to me?
The violence.
No. I mean, that was weird and kind of neat. The chainsaw thing was cool, but it's gross. Like, I can't even watch Dexter, dude. So, like, sometimes it's gross. But it was a design. It was the aesthetic of Gears of War. Who the hell are you going to find that has body proportions like any of the dudes in Gears of War?
The entire cast is just going to be wrestlers. It'll be like a WWE, the movie.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that's like, I don't think I want to see a dude that looks like Marcus who's got a weird, he's kind of like, it's like they took a normal person and kind of like squished him down a little bit and then made him super buff. It's like, that's the way Gears of War people look. Well, like their feet are way too big for normal human beings.
I mean, you just put really big boots on them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see how they get that aesthetic across. But I could be. I mean, they've done it before.
I say all this though, and I think the Castlevania Netflix series is actually really good.
Yeah, but that's cartoons.
But that's part of the thing, right? Is that like
if it's a cartoon, it's different.
I can't remember what. Oh, Godzilla. The recent Godzilla movie was kind of disappointing. Because one of the big issues that you see with that movie is that they have so many monsters and so many like big things going on, but a lot of the movie focuses on the people. And it sort of hit me after the movie, oh, this doesn't work because this would take a huge budget to make happen.
Sure.
But then like there's a Netflix like a Godzilla series.
Yeah, it's like a sort of animated sort of thing. Yeah.
It was. I think it's completely animated. It is. I watched it. It's really, really good. It's really good, and part of the reason why it's really good is because the budget is so low
Sure.
that you can just watch 2 hours of monsters beating the shit out of each other and not have to worry about
which is
a
all
huge
you
budget.
want, right?
Yeah, that's all you want. So it's sort of hit me that like. So to my point, like maybe an animated Gears of War movie would be great.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure it would be amazing.
because you don't have to worry about like a weird set or
Yeah,
like
it's-
trying to make a real person look like a
it's
Gears
like
person.
it's like the Witcher series. It's like
that would make such a good animated show.
it would make a fucking phenomenal animated show, and I bet if they do it correctly, this Witcher series is going to be amazing because it's.
I hope it is,
it's
but
not
I'm not
like-
convinced.
Yeah, it's not like Geralt looks like a weird version of fucking a human. He
no, but
looks
it's Henry Cavill, which is weird.
like sure, but it all just depends. It's like you've got certain like I would have never said yes, make a live action Gears of War
No, I
because I
wouldn't
don't
have
think
either.
that would work. I don't think a live action Zelda would work. There's a lot of games that I just do not. I don't think
I can't-
actually. But sorry, go ahead.
I can't name a single. You know what? I feel like a movie set in the Last of Us universe.
Sure.
Not a Last of Us movie.
Sure.
A movie set in the Last of Us universe would probably work.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's because zombie movies are really easy to
Yeah,
make work.
easy. But but to be fair, 2 years ago I would have been I would have told you a live action Pokemon would have never worked, and it did.
Well, but like
So-
that works because it plays like an anime show.
Sure,
It's
but
not like they're making the game.
but it worked. They made it work. So it's one of those things. It's like as long as the creative team behind this understands what they're making, I think they can make it work.
maybe I feel like it's harder with other video game properties.
Sure,
just
yeah,
because.
maybe. I don't know, man. It's Pokemon.
But Pokemon, like you get the formula of a Pokemon movie because there's been 1,000 of them, and so
Sure.
like translating because you're not translating the game.
No, but they had I think the biggest thing was they had to translate the Pokemon.
Also-
and, like I would have never put fur on a Pikachu.
I still stand by this. Like I think Pokemon Detective Pikachu works really well because it's almost a Howard the Duck sort of situation.
sure.
Like it's very kind of creepy but like cute at the same
Yeah.
time.
Anyway,
I don't
I don't care about a Gears of War movie.
I don't either. Sad.
I was gonna bring something else up, and I totally forgot about it because we started talking about movies. But I was gonna bring something up, and it seemed important, but apparently it wasn't. Son of a bitch. Fuck. What the hell was I gonna say? It seemed important. It was something about. Okay, so it was. I know it was something about E3 last week, and I wanted to ask you a question. It was something about E3 last week, and I wanted to ask you a question, and it was about this, and I fuck. It was about a conference, maybe?
Was it about Microsoft?
No,
Was it about Ubisoft?
no.
Nintendo?
I'm gonna fucking remember halfway through D&D, and I'm gonna want to talk about it. I need to start writing shit down. I do write shit down. I need to start writing this stuff.
You
down.
just need like a little note, like podcast notebook.
I know, man. Or I just need to carry a notebook with me everywhere because I hate getting my phone out because I suck at typing on things. And
Well,
it's
it
just
takes
bad.
longer. Like typing up like a note on your fucking note
It takes
app on
longer
your
than just
phone.
writing it down,
Just
doesn't
like-
it? Yeah, I know. Anyway,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question about something, and now I forgot, but I'll ask you later.
I'm sure whatever it is, I have an opinion about it.
I 100% agree.
All right, guys, we got to go play D&D.
Not yet.
Well, I mean, it's close. It's 7:04.
That's true.
So yeah, if you guys want to follow us on shit, check out our little social media thing and the notes of this podcast. There are links there. You can go directly there and follow us. We are going to RTX this year. So week of July 4th, I wouldn't expect a podcast on the regular day. But expect a bunch of shit either during that weekend or at the end of the weekend because it's worked out for us before. So stay tuned for that.
Trey and Justin will be going to RTX.
Yes.
Chris is
possibly Everett.
Chris is too busy to go to places.
So yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next week with just Justin Everett and I maybe. Bye.
Hey guys, I'm here. What I miss?
Everything. Bye. It's over.
Literally everything.
You couldn't have been more late.